So thank you ever so much. I'm really delighted to be here today. I actually don't head up the whole of the BSF programme in Leicester City. I head up the technology strand of that programme. Just want to get that right in case the programme director is actually watching this. Don't want to step on anybody's toes. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share the work that we've been doing in partnership with our school communities to transform educational practice. We've been taking an open and connected approach, and we've been working openly too, in order not just to benefit our schools, but also to benefit teachers, schools, local authorities across the UK and globally as well, but ultimately to benefit all of our learners. So there's no doubt in the UK that and many other countries that the internet is now part of everyday life. It's mainstream. We've gone from, in 1995, to less than 1% of the total world population being online, to this year, where we've got approximately 40% of everybody in the world on the internet, which is huge, huge numbers, and has had a huge impact on the way that we do everything, the way that we live, the way that we learn, the way that we love, and the way that we work. So we'll share pictures of our young people and children on the internet with people. We'll develop our personal and professional and learning networks. And we will find romantic partners online, and we'll fall in love online. And less excitingly, for some people, we'll also pay bills online and buy and purchase services and goods. So many countries online, including the UK, the number of people who are connected to the internet actually make up the vast majority of those countries. And this is why we've now started recently to talk about things like the digital divide and to talk about digital exclusion. And what that means is that we have a percentage of the population that isn't online for a variety of reasons, but those reasons do include things like poverty, disability, literacy, and those people are potentially going to be further disadvantaged by not being able to take part in mainstream activity and not being able to be in online environments and access online services. So digital inclusion then isn't just about functional technology skills and being able to access. So just having access to the internet and a computer to connect to the internet doesn't make me digitally literate. This here is my definition of digital literacy. There are other definitions available, but mine has the benefit of being one of the shortest ones you'll ever see. So it's important because social, political and economic participation is important, and the ability to contribute to shape and change our communities is really important. And what digital literacy is as well is situated in practice. And what that means is, if we take the example of another key skill, maths, everybody needs a level of maths to be able to navigate your life successfully, to be able to get through the day. You'll need a certain degree of understanding and capability around maths. But if you're an accountant or if you're a chemist, you will also need specialist math skills. So digital literacy is important for everybody as a citizen in terms of social engagement, but then for specific groups, for example, people who are supporting learners and learning, there will be specific and specialist digital literacy skills and knowledges that are useful for those people. And if we think particularly about a school setting, we think about digitally excluded populations, some of those people who are digitally excluded are young people. So for many people, the school setting is going to be the only place where they have the opportunity to develop and grow those skills and competencies that they're going to need when they go on to other forms of learning, other forms of work, entrepreneurship, other kinds of activities that they want to carry out in their lives. So, as I've said already, I head up the technology strand of the City Council's Building Schools for the Future programme, which is one of the country's biggest schools building programme. And my job really is to ensure that Leicester secondary and SEN schools have world-class IT and technology for our learners. But the investment that we're making as a council and as a city isn't just about bricks and clicks. It's fundamentally about how we ensure that our learners get the most out of that investment that we're making as communities for our young people. And that staff are confident and experienced in terms of their digital literacy practice. So what you can see on the screen at the moment is the website of the DigiLitLeicester.com site. And this is a research project that the council's been working on with Montfort University. So we've been working with Professor Richard Hall and Lucy Atkins for the last few years in partnership with the 23 schools in the Building Schools for the Future programme to look at what digital literacy actually means for professionals working at secondary and SEN school level. And from this, we've produced a framework which identifies those key areas of practice. And then from that, we've gone on to survey staff right across the city about how they're doing, what their confidence levels are, what their activities look like in those areas. So we've built up a very good picture of the strengths and gaps across the city, both at individual practitioner level, at whole school level and at city level. And then our project has obviously been involved in work that builds on that, and a range of fabulous projects that you'll be able to find on the website that basically builds on those strengths that we've uncovered and helps promote and develop the work in those areas, but also critically addresses the gaps in provision we've found. So one example of the work that we've done in that area is we discovered a gap for e-safety guidance for our young people on the autistic spectrum. This isn't a Leicester City thing, this is a national thing. But what we were able to do, 3 of our school communities worked with ChildNet International to create a toolkit to support people in terms of e-safety who are working with young people on the autistic spectrum, something that we all should be really, really proud of. And just one of the projects that's come out of the work that we've done. So the project that I'm going to talk about now is the OER Schools project. Again, this is a project that's responded to a gap that we found in our work with school communities. So school staff every day are creating, using, finding digital resources. It's part of everyday practice for teaching staff if you think about how they're supporting learners in terms of making activities, in terms of making presentations, in terms of supporting revision guidance, all of those kind of things. A lot of it involves digital resources as a key element of supporting and structuring education. What we found is there's a huge gap in terms of confidence around intellectual property and copyright issues, and specifically in terms of open education, open licensing, open educational resources, which many of our practitioners and staff in schools haven't heard of before. Now, this isn't something that I think is untypical of the rest of the country, or even actually talking to colleagues internationally. It's not unusual globally, but times have changed, and one of the core things that I think is really important as professional educators is to be confident and knowledgeable about those day-to-day issues. So what we have got is an everyday practice where people are sharing and creating lots of things, and that's fantastic. But what we haven't got as much is we haven't got staff who are modelling excellent practice in front of their learners, either at the front of the class or online as much. They're not taking advantage of ways that they could be modelling better practice around copyright and the use of open resources. And we also have the limitations of the informal sharing that's going on. So if I share my school resources with you in an informal way, you may do things with them that I'm not necessarily that comfortable with, that I'm not that happy with. You may not put my name on them. If I'm a staff member and I have a brilliant resource I know is really effective with my learners, but in there's an image that I'm not quite sure where I found that image from, and there's maybe an activity in there that somebody else gave me some information about that I've incorporated, but I've not referenced that. I'm going to be then reluctant to share that publicly under my own name or share that publicly with other people, because those things don't necessarily belong to me and I don't necessarily have firm permission to be able to use them. And indeed, schools can and do get fined for putting things on their website that they don't actually have permission to use. So one of the way that we are looking at addressing this is by supporting staff in understanding much more about open licensing and open educational resources. So here's an example of an open license. How many people in the room have seen an open license before? Okay. It's a bit of a trick question. You all have, because all of the TED videos that have been showing today at the end, they're all openly licensed under Creative Commons license. So you will have seen these licenses, you'll probably have used resources with these licenses on, but you may not have done so thinking about it or connecting what the actual license is telling you. This is a Creative Commons license, and we know that because of the CC symbol. Creative Commons is a not-for-profit organisation that was started in 2001, so it's got a well-established reputation. It provides global licenses for free for people to encourage and support sharing globally. And obviously, the Creative Commons kind of gives away the fact that they are really focused on creativity and supporting sharing as a way of collaborating, connecting, and developing creative resources globally as well. The by there basically says, you can use this resource how you like, you have permission to, but you must accredit me as the author of this resource and say where you've got this resource from. And that's the condition that's attached to this particular license. And Creative Commons licenses build on existing copyright laws internationally and provide explicit permission for others to access, reuse, and redistribute materials for free. And there's approximately 900 million CC licensed resources online. 900 million, and they include things like texts, films, pictures, music, data sets. But we can't use any of these as educators if we don't know about them, and we don't know how to find them. Open educational resources is not a Leicester thing. OER is the short version for them. They're not a Leicester thing. The term was adopted by UNESCO in 2002. So again, a well-established global process and practice. And an open educational resource is essentially an educational resource, so it could be a presentation, a scheme of work, it could be a model policy that has an open license attached to it, or is in the public domain, so can be used and reused and redistributed for free. What we've done as an authority to support staff in this area and move forward as a city is to create guidance for staff is one of the first things that we've done. And we've worked with Dr. Bjorn Hassler and Helen Neo from Cambridge University to create accessible, practical and robust guidance for schools that's available online for free and is also itself openly licensed, so other people can take our guidance, build on it, make it better, redistribute it themselves. As well as making the guidance as practical as possible, we've produced walkthroughs for staff to demonstrate how easy it is to actually change and enhance current practices using open educational resources. So this is our Leicester City Council website, our Schools Extranet page. All of our resources are available on that site. And the practical resources include things like how to use a mainstream search site to find Creative Commons licensed resources, how to use Flickr to find amazing high-quality images to enhance your websites and presentations and handouts. The other thing that we've done, importantly, is the value and benefit of open education and open educational resources is not just in finding and using them, but it's actually also in creating them. Employment law in this country, as in many other countries, gives intellectual property rights to the employer. So as the employer of our school staff, we by default have the intellectual property rights to the work that's created. Now that's nothing to do with being a teacher, it cuts right across professions. But really one of the questions that we're asking really is, should publicly funded resources, particularly educational resources, not be freely available to the public? And this is a way of supporting teachers in sharing and getting out their practice and giving a clear signal to staff that we really, really encourage them sharing and promoting their schools and work through using open licenses and getting their work out into the world. We've also, obviously, Leicester City Council is the employer of the community schools and the voluntary controlled schools in the city. We also, in the city, have schools that are not, where Leicester City Council is not the employer. So we have academies, we have faith schools, we have trusts, and we've created model policies and guidance for those schools too. And we're working collectively because what we're looking at is how every learner in the city benefits, not how every learner that might go to a specific school benefits from open education and open education resources. I'm going to wrap up. There's a huge amount of benefits to this approach, and I really hope that the talk today has made you interested in finding out more about this area and looking into more, especially how you can help your school communities engage with, make use of open educational resources. But the question that I'd leave you all with today really is, why don't all schools and teachers know about, create and make use of open educational resources? Thank you.